Horatio Husky presents Audioborks. Kindergarten, Day 1 by Horatio Husky, edited by Miss Valesti, illustrated by Wen. Part 2. An expression of concentration adorned the face of the little Husky pup. The tip of his tongue just barely stuck out the side of his muzzle in a determined blep as he focused intently on the task before him. In his right paw, he grasped a turquoise crayon, which he used with great care to fill out a dreamy summer sky as the very last part of his picture. He was very excited to finish his creation, as he had decided that it was going to be a gift for his mommy, who he was all too excited to see when she would come to pick him up that afternoon. Imagining the warmth in her smile his mommy would show him upon receiving his gift, and the tenderness in her eyes as she gazed lovingly upon it, made his little tail wag with delight. In fact, Horatio was so tuned in on creating the perfect picture for his mommy that he was not paying any attention to the juice boxes he had gone through. Normally, the little guy would occasionally notice that his puppy Pampers got a little heavier as the day progressed. However, having sat at the coloring table for the majority of the morning, he had been blissfully unaware of the steadily increasing state of sogginess in his diaper as he happily scribbled away. His husky ears had barely even noticed the soft pitter-patter of droplets dribbling down from beneath his plastic chair as his latest accident was leaking out the sides of his well-soaked Huggies. He would have continued to focus on his drawing had the shadow of Mr. Softheart not loomed over him, causing him to look up with an expression of innocent curiosity across his muzzle.
Wei, how many apple juices does that one make?
The lion's voice came as a warm, inquisitive rumble, much like a soft embrace from your daddy. He gestured meaningfully towards the pile of discarded juice boxes, patiently waiting for the puppy's response. The small puppy turned his head to look at the object his teacher was pointing at, his fluffy ears standing at attention as he considered the lion's question. Horatio appeared to think for a moment before he set down his crayon and raised his paws up, splayed out, for the lion to inspect.
This many,
he proclaimed proudly, holding up all of his fingers for Mr. Softheart to see. Horatio appeared so content with his cleverness, his tail began to wag excitedly from side to side, causing his piddled pants to accompany his swishing tail with wet, muted crinkles. Mr. Softheart rolled his eyes and shook his head at the small puppy's antics. Unable to wipe the grin from his face, even as he placed his hands on his hips, he asked the small pup another question he was already well aware of the answer to.
Do you need a diaper change, Wei?
The question ended in a warm coo from Mr. Softheart, as Horatio's ears flattened against the top of his head. His cheeks became rosy, as he could not help but softly blush. Unable to speak due to a sudden onset of shyness, he looked down between the lion's footpaws and nodded slowly. His kindergarten teacher crouched down until he was at eye level with the husky and extended an inviting paw forwards towards the little dog.
Do you want to hold my paw on the way to the changing table?
yes please.
Sliding out of his kitty chair, he gently grasped the paw of the larger fur and allowed himself to be guided over to the changing table. Glancing down, he noticed that a trail of puddles was left in his wake with each waddling step he took. His diaper had been soaked beyond capacity. Despite how embarrassing it was to have his diaper changed in the open on his very first day of kindergarten, the puppy could not help but giggle at just how much he had managed to go that morning.